All right, we are live on the farm today. It's a beautiful day out here, so we got lucky with the weather. We are with Michigan AgrAbility, and we will be showing how Michigan AgrAbility helps farmers in Michigan. So what is great about this program is that it is a program with Easterseals and with Michigan State Extension, and it does wonders for farmers and their families so that they can continue farming when they have injuries or aging conditions that might impede their ability to farm and do that in comfort. So in some cases, farmers may be injured and they continue to cause damage to their bodies by continuing to work, and we can eliminate some of the pain by doing things like putting on new stairs or helping with lift kits or whatever we could do to help get the equipment. Automatic gates help a lot. Those sort of things is what the program is about. So we are here on the farm. We are going to be starting in a little bit with one of our farmers that we are so lucky to be able to help with some assistance, and we will get going in a little bit. That's on. Yeah, we're good. We are live right now, Bev.
Oh, then we need to start.
Yes.
All right. It's 1 o'clock?
It is 1 o'clock.
All right. Granddad, it's 1 o'clock. Live has begun.
We are live.
We are live. You know, we've got almost everybody here, so.
Yeah, we're good.
You gonna?
I think everybody's here.
Yep.
Everybody's here that's coming in. How's the sound, Craig?
It should be pretty good. I'll get kind of close because of the fan.
Let's unplug the fan here for a little bit.
All right.
Lucy, come on up here with us. So I'm Ted Stoller with Michigan AgrAbility, and we're a partnership between Easterseals Michigan and Michigan State University to help farmers with any kind of injury or illness to accommodate and be able to keep doing their work. And we're here with Matt, the
17 acres. We farm roughly another 300. We do cash crops, which include your corn, soybeans, and winter wheat. We also do hay. We have 23 beef cattle. We're a cow-calf operation, which means we have naturally a bull and a cow. They make a calf. We raise it up and either sell it off or we raise it up for freezer beef purposes. I guess I can start with kind of the incident that happened and put us in this predicament. On July 28, 2018, I was round baling with my father. This is a round baler. This is the actual machine that I had my incident with. Some of the issues that happen is if you are going a little too fast, the hay's not just perfect, there's a lot of dangers that can be involved with it. So the hay goes up through the center, there's a bunch of belts and rollers. What happened on that particular day is the baler plugged up, so to fix it you open up the back door, roll the bale out, and then just kind of clean it out. We normally leave the machine running, which is not a very wise idea, because it helps you clean itself out. And in the process of walking back to the tractor after everything was cleaned, I noticed some hay was rolling around one of the upper rollers there where the belts go through. With the hay being wrapped around the roller, and then the rubber belt on the outside, and the RPMs that it's going, it causes friction with the dry hay. It's the #1 cause of baler fires. So seeing that there was some hay flopping around up top, I thought it was just loose. I climbed up top of the baler, went to grab what I thought was loose hay, and to my notion, it was actually a roller already wrapped in hay. What had happened is it took my hand and instantly sucked it between two rollers with about a 3/4 inch to an inch gap between. With the machine running, I was stuck there for probably about 5 to 7 minutes until somebody heard me. And luckily enough, the first responder was my dad, who was on another machine, heard and seen what happened, so he came running over and shut the machine off and all that. I was probably trapped in there for about another 25-30 minutes until first responders were able to pull me out. After I was out of the machine, I was taken to McLaren-Macomb Hospital, where I was immediately airlifted out to the University of Michigan. There's a little bit of movement with my hand when I tried opening and closing it. They said, we're going to try to figure if we can save it or not, and if not, we're going to amputate it, and that's kind of where we're at now. So with that, I was actually surprisingly in no real pain the whole entire process, recovery or anything. I've done occupational therapy since, and we're back here and still farming. So, some of the accommodations that using AgrAbility and Michigan Rehabilitation Services have helped me continue with the dream of farming and all that. I've had the dream of growing to be right around 500 acres and doing a lot more cash crops and hay and cattle and all that. And after the accident, it didn't look as though any of that was going to happen. It was looking kind of grim and how we're going to go on and all that kind of stuff. So by going to another farm progress show in Ohio, I got to meet some people from AgrAbility. They put me in contact with the Michigan AgrAbility, which was Mr. Ned Stoller, and through Ned got to meet Miss Lucy Maines, and we've made my dream of continuing farming happen. So today we're going to show some of the accommodations that was made, some of the struggles that I still kind of have, and some of the ways that things are now easier.
So I told Matt we want this to be a real farm tour and not sugarcoat anything. There's things that are still not going quite right. We want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so we're going to start out with the hay bale equipment because Matt used to stack thousands of hay bales a year by hand, and to do that with one hand is quite a challenge. So we're going to go right outside the shed here, and Matt is going to get in the tractor, and I'm going to pretend to be the baler, okay? Because the weather's been so wet, they're not in the field baling hay today, but Matt got out some bales of straw that we're going to use to demonstrate. The first piece of equipment is a hay bale accumulator. It takes 10 bales of hay and drops them in a nice group in the field. Prior to this, Matt would have been on a wagon behind the baler, stacking every bale on the wagon. Since that's not an option anymore, this machine will put the bales into a nice group on the ground, and then Matt will be able to use a tractor with grapples to come and pick that whole group of 10 bales up and set them on the wagon. So we're going to demonstrate all of that right now. So go on out and mostly full right now. It's got, come on around over this side and you'll be able to see a little better. So normally these bales of hay would come up to the top of this machine and come sliding down. And as the bale comes into place, you see it turns that gate right there. So it comes into place like that and makes room for the next two bales to come in, which I'm going to throw in there now. So the bales would be sliding down from the top. Like that. And then this is the 10th bale, so if Matt was out in the field baling, this is how the last one would come in. They're all supposed to slide out. Sorry, this is kind of a make-do demo since we're not in the field, but this is how it would drop the 10 bales right in the field. So all across the hay field, there would be these groups of 10 bales set.
Nice.
One of them didn't come down, it didn't have enough momentum.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we got it.
Also, brand new paint, things don't slide
Yeah,
out.
brand new paint. So this is one of the accommodations that Michigan Rehab Services helped to pay for. You want to talk about the grapples, Matt?
Yeah, another thing with the accumulator, now you have your 10 bales stacked in kind of a nice little square on the field. So to get that onto a way of being transported back to the farm, because sometimes your fields might be 10 miles or so away, is the grapple attachment for the front of the tractor. So it's very nice, it's easy to connect, it comes in real big handy for moving bales and all that, and I can show you how it works. So. bad, but once you get about 4 stacks or 5 stacks high, it kind of gets hard single-handedly throwing the bales over your head. As you can see, I'm starting to struggle a little bit now too. So with this accumulator and grapple, Matt will be able to fill a whole trailer 5 to 7 layers high. And so that's the first accommodation we wanted to talk to you about. The process with Michigan Rehab was that I came out with Lucy and we looked over the whole farm with Matt and talked about what tasks are most important to you on the farm. How are you going to be able to make the most profit? What parts of the farm should we accommodate? And this was one of the first things that came up, was that the small square bales of hay was a really important part of this farm. And so this is probably the most costly accommodation. It was around $17,000 for this, or about half the cost of a power wheelchair. Yeah. So, put it in perspective. Okay, you want to show us your feed bin? Yeah, so another one of the things that we have, we do commonly on the farm, is our feed bin. You need to know where the level's at, because you don't want to run out of feed to the cattle, because sometimes there's a 2 to 3 day lead time, if not longer. And all that. We have very many group of people out of the feed in, and then sometimes a lot of the bulk material, so corn, oats, and all that. And rather than the way we normally used to do it, climbing up the ladder, opening up about every week, and then when you start getting close, every couple of days to make sure you had enough. I'm going to show you how you climb a ladder one-handed. Yeah. Don't go too high. So,
Right.
all right, you can see the safety concerns there of climbing these bins several times a week.
yeah.
Just to see how full they are.
So one of the accommodations that AgrAbility and Michigan Rehabilitation Services did together is the grain bin gauges. All they are is just indicators to let you know at what level the grain is actually at. So as you can see, this bin here, both of the indicators are black, meaning it's empty. But then this bin here, the bottom one is a greenish yellow, and then the top one is black. So it lets me know that the grain's at least to that point. So when we're at that point, it's like, okay, we need to start thinking about ordering and having both bins refilled and all that.
So you can see, this is one of those indicators. I just got it in a bucket. So on the inside, there's just a rubber flapper that when the grain fills up to that level, it pushes on that flapper and changes the color of the indicator. So the other indicator up towards the top, when they're filling the bin, when it turns green, you're full. Shut the auger off. So this is to really improve the safety, to prevent what we would call a secondary injury on the farm, where due to Matt's disability, he could be more prone to other injuries. So as much as possible, we take that into account when we're making the recommendations for the assisted technology.
To continue on through, what we also, since we have feed cattle, we have to feed them nightly and all that. So with feeding them, so due to the way that this one's set up, it's still rather difficult. Hold on just a second, Matt.
All right.
Come on in so you can see here. You got plastic boots on so your shoes won't get dirty.
So these are some of our beef cattle that we're finishing off. We're raising them up for beef, solder beef. You gotta get in the pen with the animal every night to be able to feed it. So after you fill the buckets using the grain bins, you still gotta get in and feed them. So we have chain latch system right now. But then also a secondary kind of stop is you gotta pick up over the house. And this is how we normally feed. can see it's a little bit of a struggle to get the chains latched and all that. One of the other accommodations that we're going to show at another point is on a farm you have a lot of different gates so you can access a lot of different pens and all that. AgrAbility and Michigan Rehabilitation Services, we found a product that makes opening and closing gates a lot easier than as you just seen and all that. What we also have to do is obviously clean the manure out of the pens. So with one hand, using a pitchfork is a little bit hard. The way we do it, or sometimes that we do it, you just scoop it, and then you have to grab a lot lower, which puts a lot more strain on your back. And then once you have about probably 10 to 15 pounds of manure on there, you use the back of your arm to kind of help support it. So it's a lot strenuous on your back, your wrists, and all that. What AgrAbility also helps with is the use of I don't even know what it's called. Robo handle. So it makes it a lot easier when you're scooping the manure and all that to pick it up. Rather than relying on the pressure on the back of your arm, it kind of helps distribute it more evenly and give you a better grip on it. So that's another way that we've accommodated.
Let's go around the end of the barn and look at the gates.
Okay.
We're actually going to do about 3 things at the next spot. The utility vehicle, the gate. What was the third thing on there? Maybe just those 2 things.
Yeah. Just a little history. The barn's over 100 years old. It was built in 1909. My family's owned this farm since 1978, so way before I was even considered, and all that. But it's just been in our family, and we want to continue on and get the centennial. So we want to be here for 100 years and all that. So, as you hear in the background, we have pigs. We have beef cattle and some pigs. The pigs are for a 4-H project for some people that don't have the accommodations to raise them at their own houses. A couple of them live in the city and all that. So to still keep kids active in 4-H, we have made a couple pens for them to put them. These 2 are separate from the rest because we're trying to really push them, trying to have them make weight for the requirements at the fair sets to make sure you get a good quality product. You have to be a minimum of 220 pounds and a maximum of 300 pounds is where they consider that to be the prime pork and all that. You're not having an underweight, underfed animal, and you're not having an overweight, overfed animal. So, I personally am real active in 4-H, even though I've aged out. You age out, I think it's the age of 20. I'm 26. But you can still contribute back to them. So, a couple ways that I do that is I'm the head electrician at the fair, so all the setup and tear down for all the electrical that they need, whether it be in the tents where we keep the animals, the temporary power for all of the vendors, and any problem like that. I'm also on the superintendent's board for our entertainment area, where we have demolition derby, tractor pulls, rodeo, monster trucks, and all that kind of stuff. And then I also take care of the nightly trash pickup. So we go through, I have a crew of about 4 to 5 other people that help me, and every night we go through and just pick up and beautificate the land there and all that. Pick up all the trash that people leave around. So 4-H is a great project. It's something I, even being aged out, came back to help out with because I think it just teaches you so much about animals and all that and how to care for something else and all. So with that, we also have the gate latch accommodations of how it's so much easier to open and close gates just by pulling of a pin. You can swing it open, and then for shutting, it's latched itself. You can't open it again. What we have here is a double swing latch, so we can go in to the area, or we can come back out. So rather than just going through using a chain system and all that.
know if anybody's been noticing this, but when Matt demonstrates the way he has to work without these accommodations, how much his back is making up for his arm. And that's not something that is usually obvious to somebody that has an arm amputation. And so we try to think about that when we're making recommendations. Is we want to preserve somebody's back and also the other hand.
Yeah.
So when Matt was showing that pitchfork, to be doing all of that grip in that awkward position with his wrist, eventually his left arm, Matt's not going to be 26 for the next 30 years. And that wrist and hand is going to have some limitations in the future. So if we can make it better for his back and his arm, and just increase the likelihood of success for the long term, that's the goal here. So, yeah. So another accommodation that might be a little startling, and it was actually the first time for me to ever make a mobility recommendation for somebody with an arm impairment. But Matt can describe that.
So, with us having a good amount of land scattered throughout the county and the township, we like to go and periodically check on our crops, see how they're doing, let alone check on the animals, because the animals here have 38 acres that they can run around on. So we like to check on them. If we don't see one every morning, it's like, okay, where's it at? We haven't seen this cow. We'll go looking for it. Maintaining fence roads after a storm. Did a tree blow down and open the fence up for the cattle to get out and all that. So what we used to use is just a regular four-wheeler, as I have here.
Come on up.
So,
We're about to stand in here, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
so with a regular four-wheeler, it's a great tool, and every farm basically has one, but having a right arm amputation and your throttle being on the right side causes for a lot of crossovers. Also causes for a lot of difficulty in the rough terrain, as you see above. So it's not just going down a real nice paved trail or down a paved road. We're 90% of the time going through ruts, mud, and all that. So if you like, I can demonstrate the difficulties that we've seen with trying to drive cross-armed and one-handed and all that.
Yeah, I follow.
Gosh, yeah.
There's his back again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. And shoulders.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Don't mind the safety.
Kind of reminds you of rodeo, doesn't it?
Right.
So one of the suggestions that AgrAbility and Michigan Rehab Services has offered and suggested was the use of a side-by-side. Something that you can have more control, kind of like driving a car with a steering wheel, power steering so it makes it turning easier and all that, and a seatbelt so that you don't fall off. And all that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like, I can demonstrate the difference, as you've seen with that rough trail versus the side-by-side that I was.
It's like a John Deere commercial.
Yeah. Much better.
As you can see, it's quite a substantial difference.
Yeah.
A lot more safe, secure, and easier to handle.
A bit more comfortable too.
Oh, extremely more comfortable, yes.
For the folks from Michigan Rehab Services, when we make recommendations, we're always looking for the lowest cost, the most economical option that will meet the client's needs for his ability to do the task and safety and based on the medical condition. There's always the option for the client if they want to step it up and get something different than just the bare minimum to pay the difference. And so Matt did that with this vehicle. Michigan Rehab paid for the base model, plain Jane, get around on the farm side by side, and then Matt got additional options that would suit him better out here.
Some of the differences between the base model and what we went with was an enclosed cab with heat. So when we're running around in the wintertime, checking on the cows, we're in a more preferable environment, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
You want to show us your grandpa's tractor?
Yeah, so trying to keep the family farm going, one of the things we were lucky enough to see that we still have.
Why don't you hold on and tell us about it when we get over there.
Yeah.
My dad used to have tractors like that. Not quite that old, but very similar. I think my mom still has one here. But I wasn't allowed to drive it after I couldn't stop it.
We were lucky enough that throughout the family we still had the first tractor that my grandfather ever purchased.
Wow.
I don't exactly know the date of when he purchased it and when he started using it, but I do know that it's in 1929.
Wow.
So we wanted to kind of, as you can see, it's not really usable anymore, but we wanted to kind of make an area that we had as a contribute of where we started to where we are now. So we are in the process of kind of making it a little bit of a beautiful area for them and all that with the mulch. We still need to plant flowers and then fix the grass around the area where we did some work and all that.
I pulled in the driveway here last fall, and I see a skid steer pushing a tractor across the driveway. I thought, what on earth is going on? And Matt had bought 3 other tractors to get parts to fix this one up for the display, and it was pretty neat to
Very nice.
come in and see that happening. What, do you know the make of it?
Yeah, it's a McCormick Deering model 1020. So when my grandfather purchased it originally, because everyone tells these stories, my grandmother, of how many hours she rode in the seat, just going around in circles, not really knowing what she was doing, just continue to go in circles around. It originally came with steel wheels on the back and steel wheels on the front, and my grandfather, due to the change, the times and all that, changed them over to rubber at some point. So I'm still searching to find the steel to get it back to the original way it was the day he bought it and all. So yeah, that's about it. And it's just crazy to see how farming went from something that was 10 to 15 horsepower to now we're using machines that are around 110, 115 horsepower. And the difference is where back then out in all the environments, whatever it be, now we have the luxuries of air conditioning, radio, heat, and air ride seat rather than just the old spring seat. Power steering, just the differences are amazing.
So our next stop is in the farm shop to see some of the tools that Matt's working with.
Some of the accommodations, so to keep all the machines up and running, you have to do a lot of maintenance on them, as anyone would know. And then we're always still trying to do improvements around the farm as well. So this actually is a canvas of a hoop building that we're putting for hay and all that. One of the projects that we're also working on for the 4-H fair is making a new entertainment booth, or announcer's booth. So down where we have all of our entertainments, they can announce out of that rather than what we've been using currently, attends and all that kind of stuff. So in the process of building it, one of the hard things that come is trying to just hold a screw to start it. So one of the small accommodations that we made was just the screw slides. That slide over it, hold the screw, you can start it, no problem. And all that.
Now, can you take that screw out?
Yeah.
And
Fill it out.
so the challenge, especially with longer screws, is to keep that screw straight while you're starting it. Most of us use two hands, one hand to support the screw and the other to run the drill. So with that, is it a 10,
It also has to do with the head a little bit too.
$5 or $10 accommodation there?
Yeah. Yeah, a real cheap accommodation like that saves so much time and so much headache and all that.
Keeps your screw straight.
Exactly. With that is also a magnetic armband that you just put on, because I know a lot of times people will have screws in one hand, drill in the other hand. Kind of not really an option now. So now you can just take a screw, put it on a magnetic armband, and have the screw gun in the other hand. You either just slide it like that, or pick it off and put it on yourself and all that. So just another $10, $15 accommodation, saves a ton of time. Try and keep everything looking nice. There's the issue of whacking the weeds and weed whipping and all that. So rather than how most normal people do it with two hands for the grab bar, you're yet again putting all the tension on the back of your wrist. A small accommodation that we found was the use of a shoulder strap that makes it a ton easier and supports a lot more of the weight. So now weed whipping's not that hard. I do it all the time, just about every other time I cut, so every 2 weeks at least. And all. So. A couple other accommodations that were made, I forgot to get them out, was a hammer that has a holder to start the nail. So, like the same thing, a lot of times people hold the nail with one hand, hit it with the hammer. Not really a possibility now, so there's an actual hammer that has a groove cut in it that holds the nail head. You can get one swap on it, and then you can just pound it in the rest of the way. Also, adjustable channel locks, or adjustable vice grips in a sense, so kind of like an adjustable wrench and a vice grip put together is another tool that we have too. So.
I'm looking here, I don't see your cordless impact driver, or your cordless, your electric impact wrench.
Oh, the big one?
For running in bolts.
Yeah.
Nuts and bolts.
Something that we actually had before, but has really made a world of difference, rather than using wrenches and sockets and all that to tighten stuff up, because it's still kind of a pain trying to level it off, is the use of a impact driver. World of difference. Saves tons of time, tons of headache and all that. We've had it before, and now it's just proven itself even more for use.
Instead of doing all that with
Yeah,
one
instead of doing all of your wrenching with just one hand, we just zap it on, zap it off now.
5 more years on the farm before you get carpal tunnel.
Exactly, yeah. So,
Okay. Before we leave the shop, tell us about your prosthetic arm.
so as most people think, oh, you can always get a prosthetic arm, you'll be back to normal. Not really the case. I got my prosthetic arm back in, I think it was the end of December of 2018. And I wore it, I went through occupational therapy with it, trained with it and all that. I actually haven't used it since I quit occupational therapy in March. It's pretty clunky, it's hard to get used to, and it's not as user-friendly as one would think. So one of the main things is like trying to pick up a water bottle. When you go to pick up a normal water bottle off of a shelf or anything, you pick it up, Now to tilt it back and drink it, you have all this wrist movement and all that. Where with the prosthesis, you're fixed to that. So no matter how you grab that bottle, that's how it comes and all that. So you dump a lot of drinks on yourself and all that kind of stuff. And then trying to get the right pressure to grab something, and all, it was more bulky than useful. So I, like I said, all the time, run without it. And this is my prosthetic. It's I think they call it a 9-point harness and all that. It just opens, has a hook on it.
And it sits on the shelf.
And it sets in the shelf or the back of the truck, yep.
So our original conversation that Matt and I had last fall was, if you don't use this, you're gonna kill your back, because you're gonna be bending your back to make up for where the prosthetic arm is. And that is a continued concern and something just for Matt to keep thinking about. Maybe depending on what task is being done, this might become appropriate. And I do find with the farmers, it's about 50% that will use their prosthetic regularly, and it turns into a tool. This is kind of the original farmer's hook, or Doran's hand, and I've seen farmers use these for everything from a hammer to holding the steak so it doesn't slide off his plate when he's cutting it. He said, I just wash it with soap like everything else. So, but the AgrAbility process is not a one and done thing. So Lucy and I spent quite a bit of time with Matt working on these accommodations, but really over the course of the next couple of years, as Matt works, he's going to be learning a lot about the new normal, working with 1.5 arms.
Yeah.
And if there's other accommodations needed, we'll have more conversation about that. Just discussing things here this morning before the tour. We talked about maybe putting a rope down on the end of the pitchfork so that he can hook that over his elbow on his right arm and help lift the loads that way, or other things. And the other thing, as Matt ages and becomes the 55 or 60-year-old farmer and maybe starts developing arthritis in the hand or whatever, there'll be more accommodations needed. So we really try to walk alongside farmers through their career to help them be successful. And Michigan Rehab is the same way, that as if the medical condition changes or the work situation changes, that there's other options to discuss to help with that. So we can go back over the other side of the shed, and there's drinks and water and snacks, and we'll just have a Q&A session maybe right over there for everybody to ask their questions. And we've got a whole assortment of AgrAbility literature over here on the tape, on the hay rack. If you want to pick some up or have other questions about it, and feel free to sit down. Matt said that he's here for a while this afternoon, so if you have any questions just about the farm, things that you saw, questions about the rehab process, questions for Matt, he said he's willing to.
Yeah, any questions about anything in the farm, anything you've seen, heard, or want to discuss? The incident itself, even. Open book, whatever you guys would like to talk about, it will give you as much information I can. So, does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
I'm from Monroe County, and we're pretty agricultural there. And so we have a lot of farmland. How did you feel about having to go through the process to get these accommodations? I'm not sure how to approach people who may not be open to talking about it.
So, actually wasn't that bad. Going through the whole entire process, working with Ned and Lucy was extremely simple. Anytime I had a question, I could reach out to them, get a call right back, an email right back. They did multiple, 3 farm tours. They came up twice or 3 times just to see the operation, how I do things currently, make suggestions of what we can change and all that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people don't really like reaching out, but honestly, it's so beneficial in the end. If we wouldn't have, I don't know if we'd still be in the same scenario now. We might not be doing hay or might not be doing any of the cash crops and all that. We might have just kind of really just rented everything out. So. Any other questions? Did that answer your question good?
Yeah, thank you.
Matt, before people came, we were talking about the current situation with the weather and unplanted crops. Maybe they would like to better understand some of that. Maybe they don't quite understand what all the ruckus is about.
Okay. I'm no agronomist by any means. I have just one dude in his opinion, so take it for what it's with a grain of salt. So what we're facing right now, like I said, we do 100 acres to 120 acres of cash crops, corn, soybean, wheat. With all the rain that Michigan has been experiencing this year, we haven't been able to get any cash crops in. So if you have insurance, which is kind of a double-ended sword for your crops, you could receive payment, but they set dates of when you can plant by, you'll see full payment, and then you have your grace period afterwards, but then for every day you lose a certain percentage of your payback. Once you go to harvest, you have to harvest within a certain amount of time, and then you have to have a certain amount of bushels and all that. So it becomes real difficult. We used to have crop insurance. This year, unfortunately, we said kind of done paying on it, not really receiving any benefits of it, and it's turned around and really hit us in the butt. But a lot of farmers aren't planting. They can't get into the fields. It's too wet. The prices are terrible. Corn's finally starting to turn around, but it's only because Michigan's so underplanted along with all your other main producing states like Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, and all them. So I don't know what the true statistics are for today, but I know at one point Michigan was right around 47% planted when we're normally on any other given year at 88%, so under 0.5% planted. If you just drive around in this area, you'll see so many fields that are just grown up into weeds and nothing else in them. It also hurts us in the haymaking process as well, trying to keep the cattle fed. We usually set the goal of being done with cash crops and hay by July 4th. We just took the hay vine out and started cutting hay last night. So we have 200 acres of hay, and there's no way we're going to be able to get to it by the 4th of July. In the field that we cut, we ended up having to pull out because it was so muddy, we kept getting stuck. So it's hurting farmers all the way around. There's some things that they're offering, like low interest rate financing and loans and all, but it's still a loan, and you're still going to have to take that money and pay it back when you're not making much in the following years.
So what are you going to do with your land?
All of our lands, we're hoping to maybe try planting a little bit this weekend. If the weather holds out, we're going to try to get maybe 30 acres or so planted to cash crops. But we've more or less given up on cash crops, and they're just concentrating on getting hay done. So we have hay contracts to fill, which is just us selling to other farmers, horse stables, and all that kind of stuff, people with pet goats and all that. So we still have those contracts that we need to fill, and we need to get those people supplied with hay too. So, and with it being as late as it is, with every day that it gets farther and farther into the summer, your production on your cash crops gets worse and worse. I think the last plant date for insurance is like maybe July 1st. Don't quote me on it. But we planted them on the 4th before and got half the yield of beans that we planted on the 4th of June. And so
With all the same expenses.
with all the same expenses, yeah. So same price for rent on the land, same price for the beans, same price for the maintenance on the equipment, the fuel, the fertilizers, and all that, and your time. I mean, a lot of farmers don't calculate their time into it, and I know we sure don't, but you'd be in the negative if you did, even at minimum wage, so.
What about the shorter, like the seeds that they have for the shorter germination time? I know I read like a little bit about that they were doing that a lot in Ohio.
So the shorter germination soybeans and corn and all that, they're fine, but still your yields, if you go with a shorter day, your yields are going to be shorter as well. So like planting 108-day corn, you're going to have a lot higher yield than a 78-day corn, because your corn has more time to get fuller cobs, fuller seeds and all that, and then you have a better test weight, better time to dry down and all that. So even if we have a real late, I think it's an Indian summer where it still is nice into the fall more, it's still going to hurt us.
I have a question. So, in the beginning of the tour here, you talked about how your incident was really just like less than a year ago.
Yes.
And here we are,
11 months later to the
11
day.
months later, and I'm just wondering, like, how different, this season is compared to, prior seasons, with all the changes, and because to, an outsider, and even to someone that has been working with you, it seems like you've been able to kind of pick up, essentially maybe where you left off, and I just wonder from your perspective if you could share with other people what that's been like too.
So, yeah, we are still trying to get to where we wanted to go. We're still trying to get out there and do a lot more cash crops, a lot more hay and all that stuff. It has taken a toll, but with the accommodations and then with just learning new ways of doing stuff, we're still able to go there. Like I was telling Ned earlier, we picked up a new hoop barn for hay storage, which is something we've always dreamed of, is being able to store our hay inside so that you get more nutrient value for the animals, and it's a lot better. And then when we go to sell it, you can recoup a little bit more money back and get about $10 a bale more on your round bales. So we were lucky enough that we came across a good deal and we purchased a barn. Just due to weather, we haven't been able to sink the posts. So we were able to purchase it, and we're hoping it will have a return on investment in about 2.5 years with that. Another thing is a grain bin we purchased to try to get a better price on our corn and all that we use to feed the cows. We can buy it in bulk at the end of the crop season when it's cheapest, and then just use it throughout the rest of the year and not have to buy it when the corn market fluctuates so much. So try to keep an even expense line.
So it's pretty typical when AgrAbility gets involved and helps out on a farm, that the farmer takes the accommodations that we help with in Michigan Rehab, but then the farmer goes way on and beyond and continues to accommodate himself. So tell us about the 2 wagons you bought. 'Cause that's your deal.
So yeah, it's one of the things that's hard is when you first go with AgrAbility and Michigan Rehabilitation Services, which is great, you don't think of everything that you're going to come across due to this time of the year. So when I had my accident, it was at the end of summer. After we got met up and everything, we're into the fall, and all you're thinking about at that point is harvesting the crops. You're not thinking about the planting all that. So this spring, I was actually sitting with the seed dealer, and he asked me, he's like, do you want to buy your beans bagged again? Not thinking of it, the difficulty of taking the bags, dumping them into the back of the planter is something that we used to do for years, and now it's like, it's going to be kind of hard. So we ended up luckily having enough time, and we found a real good deal on some seed wagons and a fertilizer wagon. So we can buy the beans in bulk, don't have to pay the extra to have it in bag, and then just by using a hydraulic auger, it augers it into the planter for us. Same thing with the fertilizer and all that. So that's one of the accommodations we made for ourselves to try to help deal with the issue of filling the planters and all that.
Where are those located?
I have one on the other side, and then the other one's in storage because we couldn't plant. So if you'd like, we're more than willing to show it to you. So. Is that something you'd like to see now, or everyone would like to see now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one of the accommodations we made ourselves is the auger wagon with bioseed fertilizer involved. This is the fertilizer auger wagon because it has a metal auger on the inside rather than a brush. You want to use a brush for your soybeans and your corn seed and all that because you don't want to damage the seed. If you crack it, then it has a less potential of actually growing and all that. So the brush is a lot more gentler on it. Where with fertilizer, where it's a granular, you don't really care too much. So now we just buy it in bulk. You have your 2 hydraulic lines that will hook up to the back of your tractor, which run the hydraulic motor at the end, and it just augers it up and out the chute. So you can take the chute and just adjust it and put it wherever you need it. Right into the back of the fertilizer spreader, or on your corn planters, they have all boxes. You can just go into each individual one and all that. So.
How do you get the fertilizer into the wagon?
You can get the fertilizer into the wagon when you order it. When they come and dump it, they have an auger on the back of their truck that dumps it.
They can put it right in there.
Put it right inside there. So rather than handling each individual bag like we have in the past, now we just turn the auger on and kind of just shoot it where we want it. So.
But I thought of something we didn't talk about. Hooking up hydraulic hoses. Usually you got to use one hand to pull the collar back and put the hose in.
Yeah. So on some of them, I have a kind of a hand trick you do on it, and then other ones they just slide right in.
So you can get it with one hand.
Yeah, most of them I can get with one hand. The ones in the back of the tractor for sure. The ones on the skid steer are a little different, but we've been able to get it happen.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions about anything you see on the farm and you just wonder what it is?
Yeah. Wonder what it is. Our process of coming to where it's at.
There's where the new barn's going, right?
Yeah. So there's
The flat pad right there.
Yeah, the gravel pad over there is where we're planning on putting up the new building. Kind of keeping it out of the way, but still close enough that we can still access it.
Is this the hayfield you got stuck in right out here?
Yeah, this is our hayfield. If you want to, feel free to walk through it. Watch out, there's water holes, like I said, and you'll see some pretty good-sized ruts. Just kind of the reason I can show why we wanted to go with a hay barn.
Yeah.
This is how we used to normally staff our bales. It's just pretty long. And as you can see, this is a straw bale. We also ground bale straw. The center is bright and yellow. Pretty yellow. And then up here, you got this about 2 inches or so of just brown junk. So the same thing happens with your round bales. That 2 inches of brown junk, nothing really wants to eat it. The cows, the horses, and all that. So it just goes to waste. Well, on one bale, it might not seem like much, but when you're doing 300-400 bales, that starts adding up. And the same thing with our straw bales. When we put it in the pen to absorb all the urine and all the manure and all that, it doesn't absorb as much. And it's sometimes on the bottom of the bale, it's already rotted. So you're taking out all the manure and you're putting rotten stuff in. So you use more straw and all that. So with a hay barn, it'll keep it nice and protected, and you won't get any kind of weather on it at all.
And it increases the value then, because...
Yeah, it greatly increases the value. So when you sell to hay customers and all that, you can get a little bit more because you're giving them more of a good, usable product. You're not selling them a shell of junk and then the good product be on the inside. So.
How big is it?
The new building is going to be 30 feet wide by 70 feet long. And then in the center arch, I think is right around 20-some feet.
20 feet.
To put it in perspective, how much the hay and straw will available, how many of these?
So with being inside the building, you can actually put the hay a lot closer together. You'll see that these bales aren't touching due to the fact that the tractor's a little wider than the bale is, so you won't be running over the next one. And also when you get your snow and your rain, you don't want it just sitting on top and cooling, because then it just rots it even faster. So you want it to be able to shed off of both sides. So when you go into the barn, since it's protected, you can get those bales right on top of each other, right next to each other. And in that area, with as high as our loader tractor can go, stacking them, we figure we can get about 225 to 250 round bales. Right here alone, from here to that tree, there's roughly, I think there's about 75.
So 3 times as much.
3 times as much, yeah, in less of an area, in about half the area. So.
What are you going to do with all this space then?
Go pen.
No?
Yeah.
See, look at the ambition, right?
Yep, so we're looking to, once we get all this area left over, we're looking to kind of fence it off and then move some goats over. So.
And have you been able to share your experience with other farmers and people that, you know, didn't know about these services? And
A few, not really a whole lot, but there has been a lot of other farmers in the area. There's another woman that happened to lose her arm due to a PTO shaft when she was a child. Talked with her a little bit. The seed dealer lost the tip of one of his fingers in a hay elevator accident. Another one of my friends lost his nail in a square baler accident. So there's a lot of accidents that unfortunately happen and all that. Yep, and I mean, just about every farmer, you know, somebody knows somebody that had lost something or screwed something up and all that.
did you find out in the community that they were aware of the services available or not so much?
Not so much, in all honesty. A lot of people, you didn't really hear much about it. I heard of some services through Michigan State Extension Office, but that's only because I'm very good friends with the Extension Office representative in this area. And I don't know exactly if it was AgrAbility. I think I was already talking with Ned when I did get in contact with her about that. So I believe it was actually AgrAbility. So yeah, it's not a whole lot of people know about it, and that would be one thing that would be great to spread the word.
That's what we're doing today. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Anytime.
So
Yeah,
Ned,
anyone
if
ever has any
people-
questions.
People want to support the program or support local farming. I mean, do you guys both have recommendations on how people can support what we're doing and what we're here for today?
Easterseals?
Yeah. Easterseals Michigan
Yeah.
has fund for AgrAbility set up. And you can go through michiganagrability.org and there's a link there to donate to Easterseals Michigan AgrAbility. And I think just telling others about the program is really helpful. Matt learned about it at a farm show in Ohio. We try to do a lot of outreach here in Michigan. But the fact is, farmers are spread out by the nature of the task at hand. And so to help get the word out, but there's always more needs than resources, for sure. Not all of our farm clients qualify for Michigan Rehab Services. And so this is an example where it was a wonderful partnership with AgrAbility and Michigan Rehab Services, and we were able to help with all these accommodations. But in other situations, we're really kind of scratching for resources to figure out, we've got all the same needs, how are we going to help the next farmer? So Michigan AgrAbility helped 134 farmers last year, and we estimate that there's 2,000 plus farm injuries. Not all of them are resulting in a permanent disability, but that's a lot of farm injuries in the state of Michigan every single year. So we're thankful to help 134 people. But just to think about the other, who's a good mathematician, 1,866 farmers that got hurt last year that we didn't talk to. Lord willing, they healed and are doing great. But that's probably not the case for everybody. So we really do appreciate the support, the partnership with Michigan Rehab Services, and Lucy's work on this case was amazing. She really did a superb job. I think working with the vendors, we worked with Richmond, New Holland for the bale accumulator and grapples. Bader, was it Bader and
Bader and
Sons?
Sons out of St. Louis for the side-by-side, and then we had to make an accommodation on one of the tractors too
For the
take
controls.
the controls of the grappler, the grapple.
And then let's see, disability work tools did the smaller tools and the bin level indicators. So it takes a group working together, but the support of Easterseals and then Michigan State University, we get funding through USDA to help out in addition to the donations that come. Michigan Farm Bureau, the Andersons, Alpha Gamma Rho Fraternity. Those are some of the other organizations that sponsor our efforts too. So I think it's a great Michigan collaboration to make a difference in the lives of the people who grow. 2% of the people grow the food for all the rest of us, and so if we can help them remain productive and keep with their livelihood. You know, Matt lives here. He grew up here. This isn't just a job. This is a lifestyle. It's obviously what gets him out of bed and going in the morning.
You definitely don't do it for the money. That's for sure.
But we all appreciate the food. So, Matt, we want to thank you. Thanks for your time and getting all this set up.
Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. So thanks for all the help
Good
too.
opportunity, yeah. So, thank you. And feel free to hang around and ask more questions or look around the farm if that's okay with Matt.
Yeah, go wander. If you have questions, please. I mean, the more I can inform you, the more you can inform other people. Not saying it's right information, but I mean.
Oh, that's generally.
So.
All right, so we're going to end the tour now. If you want to learn more about Michigan AgrAbility and how you can get involved in this program, please go to michiganagrability.org. That's www.michiganagrability.org, and you can learn all about this amazing program and the work that is being done in the lives of farmers. It's fantastic. A lot of the things that we're able to do are through grants and through support from donors, so we appreciate it, and we will see you on the next farm visit. We're going to start planning that right away, so look forward to seeing you then. Thanks. Bye.